All right. Like that, we're back with another Q Reacts. It is Q. I'm here. The Candace Owens. I'm not sure who's hosting this, but the Candace Owens versus 20 Feminists. It's been bubbling on the timeline. Um, I've attempted not to watch it, so I've kind of like starved myself a little bit from being able to watch the content just to be able to actually react to it. I'm up. Just finished shooting another podcast, and yeah, I'm just up. So I figured, why not? I'll at least try and get a couple. Maybe I know it's like 2 hours, so I'm gonna try and get through a little bit of it, give some commentary. If you are interested in watching along, I'll drop the call in link. If you got commentary, hop into the chats. With that said, let me see if I can find it. Let me pull it up. We have the One Conservative versus 20 Feminists featuring Candace Owens. From what I've seen, it looked like they brought out the Justice League of Progressives, the Justice League of Feminists, and it should make for a very, very interesting conversation. I'll probably be doing some pausing as it comes up, just off the strength of the fact that, yeah, I mean, on either side of it, I'll probably disagree or agree on certain points. But with that said, yeah, I got a little something. We'll just watch, enjoy, and if y'all have any points that y'all want me to stop at, just let me know. If not, like I said, I'll kind of stop it fairly frequently, maybe just depending on how the conversation goes. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't really know how engaging it is. But to no further ado, I'll push play.
Women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this, then spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay.
I will say, like, Candace Owens is like a very, like, I guess let me give like probably a speech on my take on Candace Owens. That probably would be fairly relevant. So with Candace Owens, like, she's fairly tribal, where some people love her, some people hate her. I'm fairly indifferent, where yeah, I think that she's an interesting mind. Whichever way you want to kind of call it, I can understand the POV because of she's also polarizing. But with her, I do think that it would be, well, not would be, it is interesting that she embodies a lot of the characteristics that she pushes back against when it comes down to feminism. Like, she's for the traditional woman. She is a working enterprise of a woman that after she pop out the baby every single time, she get right back to it. I think that she don't even be doing like the full maternity leave. And that in itself is interesting, especially when you're appealing to the idea of conservatism, when you're appealing to the idea of being like this quote unquote traditional woman. I don't know. I haven't watched it, so I imagine there's going to be a bunch of people that's going to give some of these pushbacks. I'll push play.
Hi, my name is Candace Owens. I am a podcaster, a mother, a wife, and also the author of the upcoming book, Make Him a Sandwich. And today I am surrounded by 20 feminists. My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
Oh, my bad. Y'all can't even see it.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Samaya.
Samaya, nice to meet you. I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you too. So my question for you is, statistics show that 60% of women who are murdered by their intimate partners, murdered by someone that they are in close relations with. That's according to the UN from 2023.
Yeah.
So how is it that, women are so valued, quote unquote, in the home, and yet that's the place where they're at the most danger?
Okay, so I'm not sure what that has to do with the sexual revolution.
Right, the sexual revolution.
first claim.
The sexual revolution gave.
I'm happy to answer it. I'm just saying that, if you broaden that statistic, you
Sure.
are more likely in general just to be murdered by somebody you know. So of course,
But men are much less likely to be murdered by, their
that's
intimate
not
partners.
true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure, because men are less likely to be murdered by women. Full stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that statistic makes sense to me. I'm still not sure how this correlates to whether or not
The sexual revolution increased women's ability to leave the house, women's ability to control their own reproductive capabilities, women's ability to, control their own capacity within the workforce in regards to their own sexual capacity. So it is the very fact that the sexual revolution happened that made our access to the workplace much more, or just the public sphere in general, much more easy. So without the sexual revolution, women would be much more confined to the place where they're at the most danger. Isn't that true?
So you think that, just so I'm trying to understand your argument here, you think that if we didn't have the sexual revolution, less women or more women would be murdered? Are you saying that women are
more women would be murdered for sure?
Okay. I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with the claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued.
Yeah, I think that where she's hinging the argument is like a really bad spot. The idea that this women would be less murdered they'll be murdered more if they stayed at home with their husband. Yeah, I don't know. I have to see stats to back up her claim. It just doesn't make any sense on the face. Just given the fact of all the dangers of the world. I understand her claim of domestic violence and abuse, but then the question would be how rampant was death by a partner per capita when it comes down to every woman, and then you extrapolate that, and then what's the, I don't know, how often are women killed outside the house by extraneous things? And I just feel like the other one would kind of extraneous things would outweigh extraneous things, meaning drugs, alcohol, murder, car accidents, XYZ, all the things that take women out the house, going to the bar, getting, all the random things that could happen. Chat, make sure y'all tap in with me. There's some comments. Talk to us, brother. I'm gonna push play.
You'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't. Okay, okay. There is definitely a correlation between personal relationships and domestic violence. And just to be clear, if we're talking about just a monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people are intimate,
that's not a true
that is actually true.
No, the statistic you're talking about is people who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence, but that is people.
Let me look at the stat. What it say? Saying fact check. A survey in 2013 shows 61% of bisexual women and 44% of lesbian women reported intimate partner violence compared to 35% of straight women, according to Stand for Family Free Violence. I guess what Candace said is true.
Who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence, but that's because they typically came from relationships with men in which they were mistreated.
Lesbian relationships are the most violent relationships that we have on the books.
But we can move on.
They can fact check that claim. The point being is that it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships, period, whether those relationships are homosexual, whether they're married,
you're saying that the sexual revolution.
Let me finish. I've let you try to explain how this is correlated to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely. It makes perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship, because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend, a husband and a wife, a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife. Yes, of course, the instances of domestic violence are going to take place when you're inside of a home. But the sexual revolution, encouraging women to give up their goods for free, which is what I'm speaking about, and encouraging men not to marry these women or to have long-term relationships, what I am saying is a direct contributor to their unhappiness, because women are giving up their goods for free, and women are...
No, I ain't gonna lie. They have the Avengers, the Justice League of feminists out here. like when you just look at everything, everybody they paying to, this would be if you was to if you was to grab like all the stereotypical members of the group, and I imagine they're going to bring like very cogent intellectual arguments to the table, but yeah, like anything stereotypical, they definitely, yeah.
Are now entering the workplace, and that does not actually make them happy.
Okay, pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
She really didn't. Yeah. Oh.
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you? I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you. Julian, my pronouns are they, them. It's very interesting to think of it when we just think about the gender binary. It's, how do we place value on human beings in general? And so when we think about, placing value, that comes from a place of power, right? So I think let's select like the Victorian era. You have this dominant group of people coming from white supremacy, deciding who gets to have a proper status in the world. And so that is already like taking human beings and devaluing them. And so what the sexual revolution did was to help people seek out empowerment, which increased value no matter the gender. So when it comes to sexual revolution, let's look at one contribution is sex education. I'm actually an educator. I teach sociology and LGBTQ studies.
Nasty.
And I have absolutely seen the positive outcome with the sexual revolution and sex education and seen people empower themselves. And with that comes safety when it comes to decreasing STIs, abuse, sexual assault. Again, people get to empower themselves of all genders. And I know earlier you mentioned about violence amongst lesbians and sapphic community, which I do identify within. All genders can be subjected to violence.
That was the point I was making. So I wasn't sure of how her claim was relating to what we were talking about, whether or not it makes people happy or unhappy. Relationships are obviously a ground where there can be violence.
I guess I could just wrap it up by saying, like, if we all have access to like sex education through the incredible work of feminists through the sexual revolution, we are able to gain access to information and gain skills to create an equitable society, egalitarian within our relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic. I'm so grateful for those feminists who have fought for us so we can gain those spaces and create a healthier society.
Okay, are you a believer in the government doing everything that it can to make people happy?
So when it comes, as someone that teaches in the public sector, I understand the concern when it comes to like, what is a teacher, what kind of information they're providing to the students. I do believe that we, as a teacher, I should be able to give that sort of information. Again, I teach college students. One of my claims is I believe that we should mandate sex education amongst college students. So yes, I do want the state, I would like the government to give us those resources so we—
It's not a bad idea, I ain't gonna lie. If you go to college, I know that I took Dimensions of Learning and that shit wasn't about nothing. But it was condoms and niggas walking in with STDs at the student clinic. And like, yeah, I think that sexual hygiene and like kids going off to college for the first time to actually be by themselves and make their own decisions for the first time, it's probably it makes a lot of sense. Like I had a joke like, shorty ass got fat since the depot. Like women get that birth control and hormones change and they're on birth control, and a lot of women that don't, they end up pregnant in college. Like I had a kid in college, and this was like even based off of her being on birth control but taking something that counteracted the birth control and then getting pregnant through that. Like sex education and education around all the things that deal with being an adult and having sex wouldn't be the worst thing for sure when it comes down to like college students and it being like a prerequisite course. I'll push play.
We can implement that curriculum.
Okay. You consider yourself a feminist, I'm assuming?
Queer feminists. There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So, the gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie, Dave. This is probably the first time I've heard of LGBTQ studies. This is a new one. They gonna pop out. I don't know. Hopefully she gets into like more. Like, shout out to her. She is who she is, or they is who they am. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what she said. She says, yeah. All right, y'all understand what I'm saying. I'm gonna push play before I get myself in trouble.
We have the Mushes in Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believed in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just, again, to be clear, to go back to this claim, we are debating female happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions. So from masculinity to femininity.
Candace be hell. Look at her.
So I'm just saying... Are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution? I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Get up, she ran it hard to say nothing. That's crazy. Yes.
Hello.
I like her. She was a part of the Jordan Peele debate. I forget her name, but she is really solid and like, hopefully I'm not like bigging her up for her to drop a dud, but Zena, yeah, she's really, really solid when it comes down to philosophy, theory, debate. This seems to be I imagine this to be a really good one. She'll be shorty that Jordan Peele had back as the person to talk to him after doing a 20-1. And he also thought highly, even though he kind of got served in that 20-1 debate. But I'll push play. Let's kind of see what Zena hits for. Again, I like when I heard her, I was like, oh damn, like she definitely has a head on the shoulders. Let's see.
Zena, very much like your name.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the beginning? Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to like get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This like kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who prior to their sexual revolution were worth more than women today.
I would say that yes, women have devalued themselves by
and I get like that's like a part of where I always run into like the conundrum. Like even her premise to what she's pointing out is fairly well. It could be flawed. We'll hear her give her explanation, but the flaw in which I imagine what Shorty's going to say is that you have a woman who was like pretty much given to her husband. And then subjected to all things that came with him because of she didn't really have anything to leave. Like she didn't have anything of her own to allow her to leave is less or more valuable than a woman now that has personal autonomy because of what she can and can't do. It's like, so like the 1950 woman and the 2025 woman, the value and the autonomy of the 2025 woman naturally would kind of like segue over to there. But yeah, we'll see. We got Unc them pulled up on us too. What's going on, Unc?
What's happening? This is very interesting right here. I like to see what you know, men are always arguing with Candace majority of the time. I like to see what she do with some women.
Yeah, I'll push play, and if you hear something that sticks out, we'll talk about it.
Becoming overtly
According to
sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also
Let me
according
take
to
it back.
worth more than women today.
I would say that yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly
According to
sexual. That's my claim. So I mean, also according to just and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which that as it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying? But you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued.
Not according to me. According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is growing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So
yes. So
men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. So you're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel,
you don't really want to use like the extreme of any and all.
Fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more...
All right, let's read the SAND fact check. It says there's conflicting research on this topic. Pew Research found that a higher percentage of adults want a career or close friends to be fulfilled compared to kids or marriage. While the Institute of Family Studies found that married men and women are happier than their unmarried counterparts, largely because they have a family support system. What do you think? Do you think that family or I guess that sounds like social status and career fulfillment would mean more to a individual, a person?
Far than what I see, you know what I'm saying? It's like with your generation, it seems like y'all are more, the ones that's married are happier. It's like it kind of switched from my generation, because my generation was like, everybody I know that's married hate their wife. They love her, but they hate her. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's a love-hate situation. That's why I was always like, because they hate their wife, but they love her. They love her, but they really don't. They don't like her, and that's weird.
Yeah, I imagine you're saying like they love her for the time, the attachment, what she's brung, i.e., like the kids, and family, and even maybe for someone like the servitude of what she does, but not necessarily like just love. Like, oh damn, this is a fire woman.
No, it's not even that. They want her to shut up and leave them alone with certain things, because after a while she becomes nagging and aggravating about stuff that's not even, as far as I seen it, was stuff that wasn't nothing to be. It was like she had to have something. Even, from me being friends with them and their wives, I could see she just had to have something to nag about. Pick up shit. And but
gotcha.
But y'all seem to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Your generation.
Yeah, well, I would say, and I don't like to use like my group of friends as like a literal baseline for people, because of, I think generally speaking, my bad, I'm sure y'all can hear me moving the mic around, but I think that I am outliers to what the status quo is, and I do think that the guys that I'm around are more intentional a lot of times about who they choose. So then like a little bit of like them being happy or not is more of a sense of like intentionality instead of like they just ended up being more happy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying that they don't want to not be married no more. It's just that
Yeah,
basically it's kind of like,
I'm not disagreeing with you in anything that you said.
no, but what I'm saying is
Okay,
that
right.
it's like almost fact that she she turns him into one of the kids, and that's what
Um,
it seemed like. Like she wants to control everything, and certain things is like this was a
so
man when you married.
in essence, you're saying like a lot of like the marriages that you have seen and ran across are marriages in which the woman becomes more domineering. Shout out to Trey. What's the word he used? The gynocracy is more gynocratic, where it's
Yeah,
matriarchal and the woman ends up running the show. But I guess like that's the other side of it is that like I think the majority, like all the guys that I know are like like for lack of better words, they run their household. Like like with me, like in my household, like I'm not like this, like I'm not no like stern fish wearing, but whatever like whatever needs to get done and whatever I say needs to get done, like there's not like like there's not a back and forth. Let me
not a
see how I can frame this to where it doesn't
not
sound crazy, because like I've chose somebody that respects what I say and follows the lead, and there's not like this um abrasive version of the relationship, but in the way that I operate and everything. So like for me, I like if you look at every conversation, I'm hosting a conversation inside, like whether it's to be fair or here XYZ. So like naturally I kind of lead in a lot of like the spaces I'm at. And so like she's
yeah,
felt falling in line inside, like she trusts the
yeah,
ideas and the things that I say. A lot of the guys that I'm around typically fall inside like that fashion with their version of a relationship. And so like they don't end up being more, I guess, subjective to like the whole matriarchy gynocrat thing. But I
I
can
got
see how like a guy who's like completely trying to just I don't know, like I don't know,
you. No,
it's
thing
isn't a
is,
strong enough personality that could happen. You said well,
the- the- this is like over a course of time. You
mhm.
know what I'm saying? This happened. This wasn't something that just happened like a snap of a finger. It was over the course of a time because they were together for as long as they were. But I do believe that. You know what I'm saying? If things work great, I think it's better for people to be married. I do believe that.
Right.
That's my
But I think that that's different than what they was asking though. I think their
no,
question was happiness.
yeah, but
Are
that's
people more
no, but
happy? And that's where it says conflicting, where some people say that they're more happy having really good friends and being in a career. Uh, and then there's some people that say, depending on the study, that they're more happy just being married and having kids.
no, but what I'm saying is that the thing is who you ask. You have to ask a person a question like that after they get older. You know what I'm saying? Because once you hit a certain age and you have nobody there, and your friends, if your friends have relationships, but you don't have one, and you still out here still trying to be player, or male or female, and you out here and you don't have no kids, you just by yourself, all you have is sexual partners. And your friends, you can't do things with your friends because your friends actually have families. They have grandkids. Oh, as you get older, they have grandkids, they have kids, they have, you know what I'm saying, things they have to do with their partner and things like this. And you're still out here, you know, it's a sad world for you. So that's what
Right.
I'm saying.
And which like I like so I think what you're speaking to is like being single and older. Where
Yeah.
to me, like it
And
sounds like this is more so the idea of like during the time, like whether like let's say like you're 37, um, and you feel that you're happy. This
yeah,
person were you happy? Were you at your happiest chasing your career or happiest with your family? I have to look up the actual studies to see exactly how they gauged it. But in my mind, that's how I'm thinking. Like, when you were your happiest, was it with when you had kids or wife, XYZ, or was it when you was fulfilling the next goal, when you checked the box on your career and you had this big career accomplishment? Or what does it say? It's career and friends, or you was, having great time with your friends and shit.
Yeah, I understand. Let's see what the young lady that like to argue gonna say.
Fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries.
In essence, that was what Unc just said. And but we'll keep going. But the idea of like looking at each individual and then in hindsight saying
essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right?
Fact check. It is true that Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and Norway consistently rank highest in the World Happiness Report. In fact, they were 1 to 4 and 7.
We see that they also have been the most open in regards to like, sexual norms and sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution, right? So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America in these countries that are more.
I guess I don't even know if Unc, if you've answered the question. I think the main question is
sexually open. Why would we see like those rates?
Sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy. And what Shorty, what's her name, Zena is saying that literally the happiest reported the happiest countries 1 to 4, and then out of the top 7, there's another one, are countries that have more of a sexually liberated people. I don't know, what's your take on this? Just a general question.
I look at what she's talking about, far as in the countries that look at, far as, because she also said that it's less STDs and things like that. But if you're not having sex, how can you get a sexually transmitted disease if you're not having sex? It seems to me like these are countries where people are loners and they enjoy being alone. But
well, no, these countries they have like more liberal sex that she's like the Nordic countries, like that's where like the swingers and the open relationships and shit like that. Like that's where it's like at its highest rate at. She's saying that because of these countries are free, and along with that, because of they're going to be having sex, they have more sexual education. It has also statistically led to them not having as many STDs in comparison to where, like say in America or a lot of Western countries, with sex, it's more stigmatized. So you learn about sex through doing sex instead of it being talked about.
Oh, okay. I see. You are a hands-on type of person. Those are hands-on countries where that you should have sex or this, that, but it's all on where you're at if it comes down to that. Because in the United States they have one thing, and it takes time for things to change. But I know that no man wants a woman with no man wants a woman with more bodies than he has, and the thing is that women, if you're around,
I agree with that. Hey, let's get into a quick. This was a quick back and forth me and Trey had in the thing, and I agree with your initial statement. And I also say like, in me explaining what her POV is, it's not like necessarily an agreement to her POV.
No, I wasn't.
But like me and Trey had this conversation. I imagine like because this is really what she's trying to get at. So Trey posted a meme. This is the Discord. Anybody that's in here, make sure y'all check out the Discord. Discord is a fun time if you enjoy arguing, debating, and yeah, just bullshit. But he said something along, or he posted a meme in which shout out to the guy Hector Jesus. He's actually from Charlotte. He lives in Miami now, and so like I recognize him, but I was like, oh damn, like this is red pill rhetoric. And to him, he said that in knowing him, he's 35 and up as well. But he said that I would not be interested in talking to a woman that has more than a 3 body count, like 3 people. Again, I understand like the statement that you made where you said that, I wouldn't want to talk to a woman that has fucked more dudes than I have women. I think that that's probably like generally speaking how most guys, if not every guy, feels. I'm sure there's the onesies, twosies that like might feel otherwise, but I imagine that's how most guys feel, right? But let me ask you this: at 35, are you looking for, like, hypothetically, would you be looking for a woman with a 3 and under body count? Would that be appealing to you? If she said no, and again, like I don't even think that people ask people their body counts, but if it happened to come up and it dropped into the conversation, and she was like, well, yeah, I only got 2 of them, only got 1. I'm a virgin at 36. Is that like something that's appealing, or is that like?
To me, I figure like this right here. My thing is because my count is on a higher side. You know what I'm saying? And it was when I was young. When I was young, I was doing my thing. So I really just feel like, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't want a woman to be out there like that. And it might sound misogynistic, but I don't want a woman that want to be a man. You know, understand what I'm saying?
I understand, but stay to the question really quickly. Because we're gonna build to where you're at, but I want to like slowly build.
I would not. I know. If you have a high body count as a man, you damn sure don't want no woman with a higher body count than yours.
My question is, are you, because the statement that was said and agreed upon was that, like, I want a woman with a 3 and under body count.
No, because I don't care about that. That's what I'm saying. To me, that's a very, very, very low number. At by 35, I figured the average woman had 10 or better, and that's being honest. That's just being honest. 35, come on, man. In today's society,
or previous societies, I'm just saying, like, would you be interested in a woman that has a 3 and like that's 3 and under?
When it comes down to
it, sound like you said no, but I'm just double back on the question.
No, that doesn't. That's not a deal breaker to me.
Not asking, like, are you saying that it's not a deal breaker that you would still talk to if she was 3 and under? Or are you saying that what you mean by, like, it's not a deal breaker to you?
I don't care if she had over 3 bodies.
Okay, you don't care if she had over 3 bodies. Okay.
I don't care if she had over 3 bodies. You know what I'm saying? It's not about that. At that age, it's not about that. Because you gotta look at 36 years old, to be honest with you, it's some 36-year-old grandmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, you have to look at it like, if you're looking for that at 35, 36 years old, you really, you know what I'm saying, you're looking for a needle in a haystack, you're looking for a unicorn riding, you know what I'm saying, you're looking for a leprechaun riding a unicorn over a rainbow. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're reaching.
I'm just being honest, like at 35, 36,
might be
like, I don't know how, like, interested, me personally, I would be in a woman that's only had sex with 2 people. Or one or 2 people. It, like, even the sex doesn't seem like it would be interesting. Like,
no.
I understand that. Like, I don't want somebody that's smutted out. And that's like the other point that you're making. Like, I don't want nobody that has more than me or is like easy access XYZ. But I'm also not trying to deal with somebody that's completely inexperienced at my grown ass age.
Exactly, man.
Like I think it's a good middle ground where we should bring some good experience between each other and have a great fucking time. In comparison to like, like that. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying by that age, you're stretching. You got a few more years before your middle age.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting there
and
you telling me
she got 10 more years till menopause.
I don't want to 35, 36 years old. You don't have to be teaching nobody nothing.
I agree. I think that a lot of the shit that niggas be saying just sound good, but when you like put pen to paper and be like, why would like at 36 years old I want to be teaching her this right now?
I don't want to teach you that. You should already know how to do that.
It shocked me a little. Hey, I ain't mad.
Yeah, I got to teach you. Arch your back more. Arch your back now. I ain't got to tell you that shit. You should got them. You should have know the position.
All right, let me push play on it before we go too down a rabbit hole.
Referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers. No. Okay. Well, there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be a different. There's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognize that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud. And they were unable to reproduce these studies. And they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Okay, well, how can we, let's measure, then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we measure happiness? So I would say suicide rates would be a good thing to look at. Drug, alcohol consumption would be a good thing. Of course, right?
But we would have to, we can say, I can say at this point in society, I don't think everyone's happy. I think there's a lot of things that we need to reconcile in society.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right,
so
but we have to look at the cause, right? Why are these things predictable?
Yeah, so I think that just a quick pause. And she's hitting on like probably where I would attack like the argument at would be if there is like a stat that says there's an increase in suicide rate. I would first look at, is this an increase just with women? And then like what are the societal factors that could play into it that aren't also associated with right now they're talking about having more sex because of correlation causation, like that's his own little funny relationship. And yeah, like I said, like it seems like that's kind of where she's poking it at. And yeah, like you can tend to have a lot of conversations where it's easy to point at correlated correlated relationships that don't necessarily mean causation. I'll push play.
Right. And for example, if we talk about men, there are a lot of things we can look at, right? That tend to predetermine suicide, right? But we can't say, oh, these two things are happening at the same time.
Right, my bad. And that was the other part. Like, because also, like, if you isolate female and then you compare it to male, and if everybody's suicide rate in general is going up, like a lot of shit inside America and the world, that'd be something that you would kind of think about.
This caused this other thing.
Yes, that's right. But I do think that we can objectively say that women who are committing suicide rates more than they were in the 1950s, like it has actually increased marginally. That's not a sign that us entering the workforce suddenly made us
How is it
happy.
cause of the workforce?
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate. Suddenly made us
suicide rate amongst women is statistically unchanged since the That's interesting. That's a good nugget.
How is
Very
it a
happy.
cause of the workforce?
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate.
How's this?
Dave, what you talking about? Let me see. Then what's smutted out versus being out experienced? I think that's an interesting incident, being out experienced. In my opinion, being smutted out versus being out experienced, I would say that being out experienced, it deals with volume, where with volume it denotes a lack of value.
Yes,
Hopefully
it does.
that the words clear. So, and it doesn't necessarily always have to mean that like you don't value yourself. Like some women just love fucking a lot of random guys all the time and whatever. Like, but those also still aren't going to be the women that I'm interested personally. But like, let me see. Smutted out versus being out experienced. So smutted out would be the one where like you have like excessive volume, being out experienced. Well, it's not like you're close to saying the same thing. Like out experienced, like this could be a woman that hasn't been smutted out. Like she could be under the 10 barrier or whatever, like 15, whatever your barrier, depending on how old you are, right? But like she can just have sex better than you. And as men also, I have enough friends to understand that every guy doesn't have the same amount of sex, like simply put. So if we're talking about out experience, there's definitely ways that a guy can have more quote unquote bodies, but still be way less experienced, especially if you're a guy that's not consistently in a relationship and you're talking to a woman that's been consistently in relationships. So like even like the amount of sex they've had is more not in comparison to the person or people, the volume. Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah. I'll push play. Welcome back. You dropped off, but now you're back. Dave, what'd you say? You say 207. He said, like, what makes anything that has to do with body count a deal breaker when that's not a worry? Makes anything that so the body count, and this is why like I don't specifically like hyper engage in the body count conversation, because of the reality is that I've like nobody asks the question inside real life. Like once you made it past 21, I remember in college it was a little bit of like a thing that people would ask, but after that I don't even know any guys that I like. We've had this conversation, and then when I be like, you be asking women their body count, and then they're like, nah, man, you could tell by this X, Y, and Z. So like I don't even know how much it matters as much as the conversation is just a thing. And to where if a guy can tell, then they're gonna say that it matters inside that much. Would you say?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
With me, I feel like the thing is that it's with most men it would be an embarrassment if everywhere you went with your lady in your town, if the dude get that smashed.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So that would be the only thing. It would be a force of embarrassment from that point. But if you're a person that don't care about that, it doesn't matter to you. That's fine, you know. But if you are one of the ones that would be effective, like that would affect you, then the body count would kind of matter. But no, I don't think no man, because we are.
Yeah, but that in my opinion, that sounds more like proximity, where like a woman could have like a 3 body count. If you fuck 3 niggas in the same crew, then it's like I'm not interested. You understand what I'm saying? In comparison to like a woman that is spattered and all around, she get fluid out. Which y'all say? I think y'all said that's sex trafficking yesterday. If she gets sex trafficked, ain't no niggas inside the actual same town going to be able to be like, well, I popped two. Her count's all over the place, but she actually has way more.
I'm not talking one of them. Most guys, and this is for the average man. You know what I'm saying? The average man, you know what I'm saying? They travel, but they don't do as much traveling because they can't travel as often, and sometimes they don't have to do with their money because it don't cost much to go places today. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that if she is doing this locally, imagine if it's just it hurt a little bit more. And I guess it would hurt more with a smaller town or area or whatever. But you just don't want that, and you wouldn't want to put that on her either. You know what I'm saying? So
you wouldn't want to put that on her either. What you mean by that?
But you wouldn't want everywhere you went, it was a female there. You know what I'm saying? But it happens, and I know for me it was weird because we done talked about my past. You know what I'm saying? But it was my past, and I could understand where that was something that was just wrong with me. I was having fun, but I wouldn't want to be the woman that comes around that, and I wouldn't want, what I'm saying, I damn sure don't want to be the man that go around that, and that's what I speak of, is that right there. Because you know what I'm saying, you don't you it's an uncomfortable feeling, and it's an uncomfortable situation and conversation you're gonna have to have with your mate.
Right. And I understand it. I get what you're saying, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's the proximity thing. When you fuck a lot of people that's really close, like when you fuck a lot of people within like a very small knit area.
Yeah, and that's all. That's what I'm saying. But
I'll
that,
you said
go
what?
ahead, hit play.
Cause of
opioids at a higher rate.
How is this a cause of entering?
Because I think women are being put on a pathway aspirationally.
But you're gonna have to. You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause? Like you're not substantiating a claim. You're saying this is what I think. I'm seeing two.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job. Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Nikki.
Nice to meet you.
So when we're talking about the value of women on a societal scale and how we view each other, right? When you're devaluing us, you're objectifying us. And follow me, I promise. But rape rates have gone down by about half in the last 20 years, right? So if you're saying we're
Rape rates over the last 20 years are difficult to track because the FBI changed the definition in 2013, which has led to a significant increase in cases.
less valuable now, why wouldn't we be suffering at a higher rate?
So is the argument that you're making, just so I understand, that because women are giving up sex for free, they're not being raped?
Every study shows rape is not correlated with just sexual gratification. It is a power structure.
Okay.
So it is about objectifying and abusing women when you rape them, not about whether or not you want sex. What I am saying is that women are less objectified, so therefore we are being raped less.
Okay, so you think that in today's society, because this is pretty wild for me. In the 1950s, you're saying women were more objectified than today in the land of OnlyFans, the Kardashian clan, and women that are essentially putting up their boobs and butts for free on Instagram. You're saying we are now.
Yeah, she put herself inside of a really interesting hole. Let me see if she can dig herself out of it. But yeah, whoever Shorty is, what's her name? Nikki. Like that's such a hard claim to attempt to defend.
That makes no sense.
Finally have achieved less objectification, where women can't even get onto an advertising. You can't even advertise a bag without them having to be naked in order for them to get a career as a model. You're saying, oh, great, we've achieved actually less objectification.
So I'm not trying to suggest that I think that the over-commodification of women's bodies is positive. But what I am saying is that when you're going to the 1950s, that we shouldn't put this glazed look of, oh, it was so happy. We had single income households and we got to stay home. We also had a pill popping problem. We also reviewed as maids. Like we were seen as a house appliance far more than we were as people. And so when you have that kind of objectification where you are in a subservient position, I think we're facing a different form today. But I think that rape is a signifier of a contradiction to your statement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but I do want to rebut it on a couple of points. So first, I just want to say, suggesting that objectification has gone downward since the 1950s is wild. That's just a firm no. That is not the truth, and you know that's not true.
Wait, so do you feel
But
like
hold on, let me answer your
like,
second thing.
Okay.
Second thing, you then brought up, okay, women were at home, but they were pill popping. Well, you then have to acknowledge we're actually popping more pills now, right? So we have actually increased our amount of pill popping. Women are having overdoses on opioids. And on top of that, since I think 1999.
A 2018 study found that women were more likely to report prescription opioid use compared to men, 55 to 42.
By rate, we are increasing our opioid use compared to men. So women are not popping pills less because we're going into the workforce. That's actually not true at all either. We're also, like I said to you, consuming alcohol more and binge drinking more than we did in the 1950s, which is why I was trying to get her to say, we need to look at actually give me any reasonable metric of how we can define happiness, because it's hard, right? Are you happy? Yes or no?
Sure, but wait, hold on. We're actually avoiding what my original point was about rape being the signifier.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
You said what?
Nothing. She said nothing. And she was saying about rape. The whole thing about what causing, like, I have looked at studies on rape and things like that. And don't think it's weird for looking at the studies or whatever. I just try to figure out why would somebody want to take sex when, you know what I'm saying? But majority of it is all about power. It always seemed to be about power.
Well, that's what you were saying.
And as you were saying about in 2013, the FBI changed the definition kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was that, if I'm correct with that, they put it to where in an institution of marriage or something like that, or, you know what I'm saying, in a relationship with somebody. But it's two different things. It had nothing to do with power when it came to that point. It was the point of, you know, it was almost like the men think that that's theirs to have. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're not giving me what's mine, because it's almost a possession thing then.
Mm-hmm.
It's two different, it's the same thing with two different avenues of going the way you're doing it. You can't put the men that's going out here house to house raping somebody versus somebody that is forcing itself on their wife.
Right. I guess
with the FBI study,
with her, what she said, like where in my opinion, where she messed up at, even it's not like just like the general scope of this conversation would be like she threw out that claim because like what she laid out isn't like, she kind of laid out very similar points to what you said. I think that in her justifying her claim, she brought up a lot of different shit that was hard to defend. And so like then it became her talking out her ass. And so that's why like at the very end, she's like, hey, we didn't even get back to my original claim. But it was because of she loaded everything with a bunch of shit that was hard to claim. I mean, hard to prove, or it was like an uphill battle to prove the claim.
She tried to hit her with the Glock. That's what she did. She tried to hit her with the Glock. She got, and with that is so much shit up in there, don't nobody know what hit him. So they're gonna snatch on whatever the fuck they know hit him with, and they're gonna respond from there. And that's what Candace did. I got you.
Yeah, I push play.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hi.
Hi,
I like your hat.
Whitney.
I ain't gonna lie. She get that. I call those the let me think of. Damn, I had it. I can't even remember the framing of it. But all the independent women, they used to wear them hats like that back in like 2019, 2018, 2022. That's like that independent. I got my own job. I can do by myself hat right there. When they go on their brunches, or they don't even go on brunches with their hat. They used to go on like the girl dates. All the straight women, when they just like go out on like the little girl date with their home girl and spend a little money. They work now. That'd be the hat that they wear.
But the way she looked, just looking off of her, she looks like a woman that I'm trying to look like I'm gay, but I'm not gay. I want you to call me so I can say something, back to you in a snarky way, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's them.
What did they used to call Prince back in the day? Androgynous. Yes. Yeah. Androgynous. Yeah. She's in her androgynous bag for sure. Push play.
Shanahan, nice to meet you. I am fascinated by your claim that women have lost happiness since the sexual revolution, since the 1950s. Do you think that there's any tie to happiness and freedom and happiness and choice? Because since 1950s, since the sexual revolution, women have gotten exponentially more freedom and more choice. And for me, as a mother and as a woman, having the freedom to choose what I do, to make my own destiny, makes me infinitely more happy than, say, back before the sexual revolution, when I couldn't get a bank account, couldn't get a home loan, couldn't work outside the home, couldn't travel around without a man, couldn't control my own reproduction. So I feel that happiness, personally, my belief, is tied to our ability to have freedom. And I think that in the United States, protecting freedom and our individual freedoms is what's going to lead us to happiness.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Did you?
Yes, I did. So you have a degree?
Absolutely.
Now, when you went to college, did you go to college because it was simply something that you wanted to do? Or did you think that I have to go to college because in order to get a job, I have to have a college degree?
I went to college for art because I was fascinated with art.
Okay. It's just answering my question. Did you go to college? Was that the only reason you went to college? Or did you think that I might want to do something in art, so I have to go to college, like for my career?
I went to school because I wanted to expand my horizons. I mean, I think that's why most people go to university.
No,
why did you go?
That's actually not
Why
true.
did
A lot
you
of
go?
I went, and I think a lot of people go because there's a pressure that if you.
You said what?
She's not going to answer the question, because what Candace is asking her, did she go to college to get a career so she can make money for herself and better herself? Now, with her doing that, she's not going to answer the question that Candace asked her. Did you go to college for that? Or did you go to college just only for? And she's going to keep saying, I'm just, and you'll see with the video, keep going, I can already tell what it's going to happen. It's going to be another one that's not going to finish there. She's not going to finish with, you know what I'm saying? She's going to ask the question and not going to answer the question back that Candace is asking her.
It's because of she has a weak premise. Like she's setting up what, like, Candace, like, the thing is that, like, a lot of people hate on Candace. Candace is not a dull knife at all. Like, she understands what she's doing when she's inside a lot of these scenarios. I'm kind of waiting for like more of maybe probably like a smarter or quick-witted person to come up against her, because of like the women right now that are coming up, like they're not necessarily like the best intellectual match. And with her, like, she's positing, like, you could tell that the lady inside the future hat, she doesn't want to answer the question, because if she understands that in answering that, Candace Owens is going to go down a line of contradiction that answer points out to her point. And so for her, she's trying to keep it like super broad, like, nah, I just went to college to try and fulfill nothingness in the world of living life. Like, it's like, bro, what are we talking about? But yeah, so like saying all like to you know, like, I agree with what you're saying.
you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
It's a choice. Everything's a choice. So taking away choices doesn't make people happier. Taking away freedom doesn't make people happier.
I'm disagreeing with you on the idea that people are feeling more free by financial pressure. I think financial pressure makes people feel remarkably less free.
So you want no bank accounts again? Women not to have credit cards?
I'm not saying that women shouldn't have access to credit cards or banking accounts. You're putting words in my mouth. So why don't you respond to the words that I'm saying?
Well, less financial pressure. If I don't have a bank account, that's a lot less financial pressure, I guess, right?
Financial pressure in terms of most people that go to college, and I'm counting myself among them, it's because typically in order to get the job that you're being sold is going to make you infinitely happier and infinitely more free, it just requires a college degree. And most of these people, to be clear, have to put themselves, the majority of people have to put themselves into debt. And I don't think anybody would describe debt as a form of freedom, right? I don't think anybody would realistically say.
Let's get back to happiness. So we're here to talk about happiness and how the sexual revolution, and we're not talking about college debt.
I think it's important because we're talking about freedom. You just said that the reason why I feel happy is because I have more freedom. And I am saying that financial restraints and debt doesn't make people feel more free.
So let's eliminate the debt. Let's eliminate college debt. Maybe we should have free college here in the U.S. That sounds great. Great idea, Candace. I love that idea. All right.
Okay.
Love it. Woo! Champion for the people. Girl. Very nice.
All right, return to your seat.
Surrounded is now a podcast.
Candace was not trying to shake that hand, boy.
Hold on. Can I step in for a second? One of the things that in today's society that makes it a little more difficult also is because, at least with me, because I was taught that was something that is very, very, very important with getting with someone. Because when you get married to them, their debt becomes your debt.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? And they are in a bad situation. That means you have to pay for what they're, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you would have to take on the debt. Yeah, I personally probably wouldn't. Like, yeah, it'd be such a hard stretch for me to try and date somebody that's in bad debt.
And that's what I'm saying.
I don't even think that I would really date somebody that has like a really bad credit score, honestly.
No, but see, the thing is this right here. These ladies don't understand that. They don't understand that, yeah, you make this money, but a lot of them are very bad with money. They make money, but they overspend. Where a guy might, you know what I'm saying, he might be better with finances and things like this. And even if he makes more than them or less than them, but he's living a better lifestyle than they're living because they have put themselves so much in debt and things. And then, you know what I'm saying, he's looking at them like, oh, she's good, she's corporate woman, she this, that, whatever. But then when it comes down to it, because a lot of relationships, people don't even speak about stuff like that when they get into it. And that's one of the most important things of knowing about someone. Even if you love someone, you can love them, be in love or whatever, but if they're bad with money and they're bad with money and they're not, you know what I'm saying, you don't need to be with them.
Yeah, finances is I think it's like one of the top 2 reasons why people get divorces. Yeah, if a person's bad with money, hopefully you had sniffed it out early, but eventually that shit's going to end up biting you in the ass. That's the best.
It's going to bite you in the ass, but it also bites you in the ass also because of them being capable of getting to money the way they can. And them fucking up money the way they do. You understand what I'm saying? Which means you're stepping yourself into a shithole. You done put yourself there. She might be a beautiful woman. She might be what you want or this, that, whatever. But if she would just understand that, you know, I'm trying to put it as politely as I can. It seems to me like a lot of women want things that they don't want. They want them because they want people to think they want them. And then when they get them, they're upset because they have them. Like the ability of them with all this stuff far as in the credit situation and all this shit and all that. Now, if you had a man that was sick and he was financially responsible, and he could, it doesn't have nothing to do with your credit or his credit. credit. It's just the point of you listening. Let's not do this. You don't need this big $3,000 bag. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that could be the same thing with her saying you don't need this $70,000 car. But the thing is that it's the smaller things that they get that's small that add up to a great amount versus your one big purchase. And those smaller things, and if they're getting them on credit, each individual thing is accruing credit at a different point and from a different place, which means they're putting themselves into a financial situation that goes bad. And all of this comes because they think that they don't need a man around them, or they don't want no man around them, or they said whatever. But if the man was there and it was his money, they wouldn't be doing this. But they could still get the same things, but it would happen at a different rate. It would happen.
Yeah, I guess my main like the pushback that I would give is that I don't think that the bad credit and spending habits have a gender. Like I know too many people that fuck over a check as men and women to like gender it to where like I just like there's a lot of financially irresponsible guys. Like I've known guys that make a decent amount of money, and every time you talk to them, they got to try and borrow from a couple dollars. Like, bro, where the fuck is all this money going to? And you be like, you know what I mean? Like as a friend group, you say the same thing. I think that like financial literacy for male or female, and what did you say? Like in essence, like how you kind of deal with money, how you are with whether it's bigger purchases, smaller purchases, is something that I personally and I advise people to vet for. Like that's big is major, and it's gonna come up inside the long run. Like I said, my only pushback, like I don't agree with what you say is like once it gets extrapolated to like everybody, only because of it's a lot of niggas that I know that got fire sneaker collections and be needing rent money or don't even have or living with their mama. Or like be like, damn, let me borrow a couple dollars. I'm like, bro, you don't even have a house, a mortgage, or pay rent. Where's all your money going to? And it's like, bro, just float me into this.
I see what you're saying with that, but see the thing with it's like even when you're saying a sneaker collection, right? With that happening, that's something that's an asset actually because you could resell them. It's a market for that. I don't know if it's a market.
But people say the same thing with bags.
No, but I don't think it's a market for bags like it is for sneakers.
Definitely like an expensive bag, like they accrue value too. That's why they say like what I forget what the main Birkin bag. Birkin bags is like it's in essence like it's an investment that holds value. And people like they talk about it like that. To me, 9 times out of 10, though, the reality is that the person is buying a person of poverty that's buying a Birkin bag or getting the resale Jordans for $500. These are people that likely are going to wear these shoes to that like down to the ground, and then nobody really want the thing. Wear that bag out to every single like function, and then nobody want the thing. Because the other thing of like, even if you look at sneakers and sneaker value as an investment, is that now there's a lot. Well, the science is in on sneaker culture, and in essence, sneakers don't like the durability of shoes don't age well. So there's people that have like kept saran wrapped sneakers from like 1995 XYZ, and just being the fact of like the material that the sneaker is made of, when people try and play in it, run on it, XYZ, it starts to crumble and crush and shit like that. So like a sneaker is it's a good investment only into a certain time frame, and then it almost tanks.
I got you. Basically, what you're saying is that even though you might invest, I'm not saying put all your money into that, but You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that it is someone that will buy it from you. It's always a fool to buy
Oh yeah.
something.
No, like if you want to hustle sneakers, there's definitely a market for it if you're good at it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the thing is, you know, what I'm saying is that the things that they buy a lot of time, like even those bags, the bags, and to be honest with you, the bags will last a lot longer than sneakers will. They really will. If you look at far as because I know I have had old real things that were when they were official that weren't sneakers or whatever, they held their value on it, you know. So
Mhm.
it goes differently, but
You
I
shit
guess
like
I'm
leather, like the certain material just ages longer. I guess you would say.
yes,
I
yes,
agree.
like stitching and the quality of work that's done on it. Like if you had an original and it is no original, but if you had an original Gucci hat
Mhm.
from 1989, which we know they were replicas because it was just the material because of Dapper Dan. But if you have one of those, it still holds itself. I had one, and the material is still what it is. Your auntie gave it to me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Here you go, and the material is still good. The stitching is still good, and things of that nature. Versus, and with that happening, it's because of it's the material and the stitching and everything that goes there with it. Yeah, but
No,
we're
I got
going back to let's go back to these women arguing.
it.
Give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children.
God, man. That's such a.
Hi,
I ain't
Candace.
gonna like. I like everything about this concept outside of the fact that
Oh,
niggas have
did somebody try to
they
fight
gotta
her?
like sprint and run and get to the thing. That's so crazy. You said what?
Oh no! Oh, you got to sprint and run. I paid no attention to any of that because it seemed like these people was about to fight or something. Is that a woman with the mustache?
What you like on the stage right now? This is a man.
Oh, okay. I thought it
I
was
think this is
women.
like a male. This is like a male feminist right here. I guess.
Okay, go ahead, go
Hi,
ahead.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm John. Okay, so I feel like a lot of your arguments today are very rooted in a sort of old school perspective. I have to be honest. Like, I think, and I'm not trying to be insulting whatsoever, I feel as though most people would identify that claim as pretty extreme and pretty like,
Children are extreme.
well, no, that women would get more happiness inherently from raising kids than having a job or deciding what they want to do with their lives.
Why is that? I'm just curious. Why would having children, which is just a natural biological conclusion, be something that sounds extreme?
I just
to
said
you?
inherently.
Well,
Inherently.
inherently
That's the inherent
extreme.
expectation.
Yeah.
That's better for
It's inherent because it's biological. So I think when we think about things that are inherent, I think biology is a good thing to start with, right? So biologically speaking, men and women come together, they form families, and that's the reason why you're sitting here. That's the reason that I'm sitting here is because biology is inherent.
Well,
so
I was
saying
child-
it's just natural order that we're speaking about, right?
Okay, let's break it down. So why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
Why do I believe that women
Why do you inherently are happier? Yeah.
you keep stressing this word inherent. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think because it speaks to natural order and every piece of life, I think, is enriched by
You
children.
don't think it's natural for women to get to decide what they want to do with their lives?
I do not think that saying women can decide whether or not they want to go to work or have children is problematic. What I'm saying to you is that women will get the most fulfillment from having a family.
Because it's natural.
It's natural, but also children are wonderful and beautiful and spiritually divine creatures. I mean, they're amazing. There's everything about having a child. Yes, it's a lot of work. It's beautiful.
I hear that. Well,
Yeah.
Okay, what if there's a little girl born and it's her dream her entire life to be an author or to be, on TV or any of these things, and having children is very expensive. It takes a lot of time. So how is it better for that, and I understand this is hypothetical, but that hypothetical little girl to have children than to pursue these things that would make her happy as she gets older?
I just think that if she publishes the book and she has a child, she would agree with me that the child was more fulfilling and made her happy. That's what I'm happier than the book did, is what I'm saying. And I say this as a published author. of a New York Times. I would choose my children over my best-selling book. And I was that little girl who had a dream that like, oh, it would be really great if I could share my thoughts and ideas in a book. But it is utter insanity for me to reflect on that and say that I would have rather published Blackout than to have my 3 children.
But why is it rather? You see what I'm saying?
It's not rather. I'm just saying
Well, that's
that
your claim.
it will be more fulfilled.
Right.
Yes.
So rather.
Well, if it's an either or, if you're saying it's an either or, I'm just saying that if these 2 things have happened in your life, the thing that will bring you more spiritual fulfillment will be children. And so women who are neglecting that, who are neglecting the pathway to, strive toward family because they think their career is going to hug them at night, or they think that when they're on their deathbed, their career is going to come up next to them and say, you were so great to me. I think that they've stepped into a delusion, and I'm hopeful that they wake up from it before it's too late.
All right, pause. Yeah. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return.
Yeah, Candace, she like 5-0 right now.
She smoked him. The thing is that with him, right? Listen, I'm sorry, but with him, he came with nothing, and nobody else really came with anything. But what he was saying was that would make you the thing. He could have asked her if she felt it was better to have a child and do what you went to college for. And when you do that, once that happens, what are you going to do? Because that's the true question. Because even if she wrote a fire book, like, she don't have to go on press tours. She don't have to do, you know what I'm saying? She could do a couple of dates and this and whatever and still go back home to her kids. But in order for her to do that, she had to be Candace Owens from the beginning. Because no one would have bought a Candace Owens book if no one knew about her. See, she had her career beforehand, before she married her white husband.
Mm-hmm.
She had all that going on. Once that got going on, then she met her white husband, she married him, and she did all the things she's doing now. So she's kind of being hypocritical when it comes down to that.
Well, wait, you said she's being hypocritical when it's coming down to which part?
The part of her saying that, oh, you could just do what you're doing, and I wrote my book, I would have had rather my children than having my book. But her book were her finances. And with her,
I get what you're saying. Like one of like the inherent, and I imagine somebody would have to point this out eventually. If not, they got like 20 bad feminists. Is the fact that Candace Owens, generally speaking, she is the boss, quote unquote, like the quote unquote boss babe, boss chick, I can do it all by myself woman that she puts down. Like she just had a kid and she's back doing interviews, media, i.e. working 2 to 3 months afterwards. But she's did that for like, I think she has like 5 kids now. But in essence, she's a working mom. But she advocates for stay-at-home mothers that raise their kids. And she's had like a daily show that she's had to go to. Like it's a bunch of contradictions if your advocacy would be for you to be a stay-at-home mom. So yeah, I agree. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Turn to your seat.
All right.
All right.
Hi. Naima, nice to meet you.
Naima is actually kind of like she's solid inside like her philosophy. I've seen her before. Maybe she has something that I've seen before. Maybe I've seen her debate. I'll be interested to see kind of where this lands at. Let's see.
Okay, so currently women make up about 47% of the workforce. Mm-hmm. If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy or unfulfilled working and would just prefer to be at home.
What'd she say? 47%? What did she say?
Inherently unhappy.
Naima, nice to meet you.
Okay, so currently women make up about 47% of the workforce. If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy or unfulfilled working and would just prefer to be at home, Why don't they?
Because we've made that, due to prior feminist waves, nearly impossible, because now, which I believe that the reason that the government wanted women to enter the workforce was because it gave them an opportunity to tax a household twice. And so
there are a number of reasons more women enter the workforce. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, access to birth control, recognition of sexual harassment in the workplace, and the ability of women to apply for a line of credit without male cosigner in 1974. Okay.
This goes back to what I was saying, is that there's a lot of financial pressure that is being exerted on young women to enter the workforce, and they do so blindly under this illusion that somehow entering the workforce is going to make you more fulfilled, like getting yourself into 6 figures of debt going to college to then take on a career and be in debt and having to pay student loans while you make $35K is going to make you happier. And I'm saying that isn't actually true.
Okay, so I hear that.
Yeah.
At the same time, would you not agree that that women can both have a career and have children? I mean, you are actively doing that right now.
And I want to be very clear, because I am actively doing it right now. I would be someone that you would call an exception, because I get to work from home. I get to wake up in the morning. I don't have a boss, right? I don't have to go into the office from 9 to 5. I get to then therefore spend the entire morning with my children.
So you're an exception, and the 47% of women that make up our labor force are also an exception?
No, the exact opposite. So I'm trying to make it more realistic, because I think it's really bad form when people who are able to stay at home, right, and are able to start working at 1:00 p.m. as I do, after being around their children, the children are running around all day, will then preach to you that every woman can have this. That's not the reality. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of people are stuck behind a desk all day, and they're not happy. They're not doing work that gratifies them at all. And at the same time, they're suspending.
Well, that's just what career you've chosen. But I think that the issue with your
work a 9 to 5, I think that's
okay. Yes, but
right?
if it's the job that is making them unhappy, then maybe they should have chosen a different career path and not the structure of the career itself. But my issue with this is that not only is it claiming that women can't both be mothers and have jobs, which we know to be true because millions of women do that. My mother does that. You are actively doing it right now. But it also is qualifying what every single woman in this country wants without any clear evidence. I mean, there's 169 million women in this country. How can you say that you know exactly what every woman secretly wants? Are you asking them?
That wasn't my claim, that I secretly know what every single woman wants. I'm saying that if you measure up at the end of your life, what brought you more fulfillment, your career or children, raising children in your family, we will discover that, and there actually have been studies, people that have gone to people on their deathbeds, and the number one regret that people had was that they gave too much to their careers. And this includes men, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, of course, human relation is going to be valued over money and profit.
So then
but
you
at
don't
the same time, what does that even
with my arguments
I do
at all?
disagree with
You're
your
agreeing with
argument.
my
Yes,
argument.
humans prefer humans over a job, but that's not just singular to women. That's everyone. And my question is, what does that even have to, what is the goal of that? Should every woman quit working and just have a child?
Well, I'm just trying to warn you that if you decide to suspend that pursuit of family because you think that you have to first climb the ladder, a lot of women make that mistake and they don't end up finding a partner.
But that's their right. It's free will.
You will definitely have a right to make a mistake.
You don't get to say what people should and shouldn't do.
I don't think my claim is this is what people should or should not do. I'm just simply stating that my claim is that you will be more fulfilled if you focus on trying to.
You don't get to decide what other people are fulfilled by.
Okay, I'm making my claim here that women are infinitely more fulfilled in the household and raising children than they are taking that 9 to 5 job.
But you have no evidence of that. In fact, you are evidence against your own claim.
I'm not evidence against my own claim.
You are.
I'm saying
You're here at work right now.
I've literally said, I am telling you, women cannot have it all. That is an illusion, and that is an illusion that is stressing women out. And I think it is the reason why so many women are turning to popping pills, why there's been such a significant, more than 1,000% increase since 1999.
But men can have it all. Men can be fathers and have a job, but women can't do that.
I don't think you can have it all.
It sounds like you're devaluing women. I think that women can do everything that a man can do, and men have done this historically throughout time and memoriam.
I think women is our debate topic today. So
women exist in a society with men. We are comparing
women are trying to be both women and men, and that is why women are unhappy today. Is because actually, what's quite ironic about the feminist movement is that
women are just trying to be people.
I think women have been taught that being a woman is not enough, and that you have to also aspire aspire to be a man. And that's the irony. It's like a psychological conditioning. What feminists went out and did and said is that in order for women to have value, women need to be like men. And I'm saying
Candace,
that actually women and men are biologically different. There are differences in our behavior. There are differences in our desires. And I think evidence of the feminist movement, by the way, shows us that, because even when women enter into the college education space, the pathways of career that we choose are different from men because we're biologically different, right?
Okay, so let's say that this is true, that women truly are more fulfilled at home. Now, the average cost of raising a child a year is around $21,000 or more. So my issue is, are you saying that women should just suddenly stop working and now the onus is entirely on men? Like the society that you're pitching.
Please.
You said what?
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Now, with her saying that the average cost to raise a child is around $21,000 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said.
She did. I guess it looked like they just pulled up a fact check. Let me look and see what it said. It said Lending Tree estimates that $30,000 per year to raise a child. There are multiple estimates above, but yeah, let's say 30,000.
All right, let's say 30. Let's put it up 35,000, right?
Okay.
Now, it's not hard for a woman to find a job that she's gonna make $35,000 a year with doing, right?
Shout out Naj. What up, Naj? Yeah. My bad. You said, is it hard to find a job that makes $35K a year?
You know what I'm saying? A job that damn near anybody can do. Unless you're going like, you know what I'm saying, like.
I think the thing about employment and jobs be the higher you get. Well, I think like there's this weird little middle space. This is just from my experience in working. There's like this weird middle space where I think it's hard to get a job that makes over, maybe if you say like 30 to 35, right?
Yeah.
In like that, like the 30 to 35 range up until like maybe 48, 50-ish. Like finding your first or your job inside that range. Like it's kind of hard because I don't know, maybe it's super competitive. I don't know what it is. But to me, like I didn't get a job. I've never had a job that was inside that range. I had jobs that made less than that, and then I jumped right over that, and then I made more.
Okay.
And like since then, I've made more inside, like, you know, like my jobs, or I guess my bad. Like I've made more inside different jobs, but like that 35 and under thing is such a weird space. Like making it over like that certain little hump, even if you got a college degree, like it's such a weird space for me to say like it's easy to do it. I think that maybe like the right call center, and maybe I'm giving like antiquated like stats. Maybe the number might be like 40K or something like that. But I do remember at a time where I was like, damn, I just wish I could make X, Y, and Z. And then I overjumped that, and I'm like, damn, how haven't I been making this all the time? And then the work to do that was so much easier than the work that I was doing when I was making under 35. It's such a weird thing. Like making more, you do so much less work, and it's so easier.
The work is always more. It's more beneficial towards your health and the ability of you doing that. Like what I'm saying is that
you be like the work is so much easier the more money you make. The more money you make, the less work you do. It's such a weird concept. You just have to be qualified more to do less work.
Exactly. But what I'm saying with this young lady is, with her stating what she's stating, the thing is this right here. Once you get into there and she has to pay back that college loan, you have to pay back your college loan. And between the two of you guys, you know what I'm saying, paying back college loans and things like that, what it puts, because you have to pay that in increments. You probably paying per month. So that's money coming out of everyone's salary, right? Now, if she didn't do that and she just got a modest job or whatever, and she came out to where it's not like nobody like, oh, I'll run this shit and you my bitch, you my goddamn, I'm controlling you and all this shit. if it's not on a controlling situation, like the way you saying you run your household, even though y'all are equally educated. You know what I'm saying? But she listens to things you have to say and things you're doing. Now, if they could just do that, imagine the amount of money that she could actually save, or just if she just buy the groceries per month, or she just take care of the groceries and just the light bill and things of that nature. The money you can throw to the side and save for you guys together. You understand what I'm saying? Versus what she's making and this big chunk because she's making a house payment every month.
Right. I guess shout out Naj. Hey, the homie. I would say I guess I got a couple. Well, I better yet, I think that this will probably be the better way to approach it. Where we at? We're at we're at about 30 minutes into the into it. And this is a hour and 30 minutes. So at this pace, what we at? How many hours? We at hour 30 right now. All right. So I think that this is what we would do for this episode. I think that right now will probably be like a good stopping point for the actual like episode with what's her name? Candace Owens and everything that they're doing. And then it's also like it's like 2. It's almost 3. So I'm getting a little tired. And I do want to be like hyper engaged when I'm reacting to this because of again, like it's interesting points. And Unc is bringing up a lot of really, really interesting points as well to kind of rebuttal some of the things that the feminists are saying, and sometimes pointing out some of the contradictions of Candace Owens and herself. So what we'll do is this. Tomorrow, look out for a possible stream. But if not tomorrow, we'll do one on Saturday where I'll make a part 2. Maybe we do the whole thing. It just kind of is going to depend. I think that not rushing through, there's a lot of like good talking conversations inside a lot of what happens inside like these conversations. It gives you a lot of good talking points. We won't rush through it, but we'll at least do a part 2, maybe a part 3, depending on if we get through it in a part 2. Yeah. So nonetheless, be on the lookout. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. Shout out David. Dave, he's been on the pod. Shout out Naj. He's been on the pod. Naj, we done made more than enough music together. Shout out to the homie. Unc, y'all know Unc gonna pull up every episode, or not episode, every piece of content that we do. He's a constant contributor, a well-known voice on whether it's the chat, the Discord, or inside the call-in. Shout out Unc. So like I said, with that said, it's probably a good little stopping point. Shout out to the guys. And we'll pick up tomorrow at the 30-minute 51-second mark. With that said, this is Khue Reacts. Unc. There you go. He told y'all peace. And like that, we out.
Peace.